It's time for Trivia Tracks with yours truly, Price Robertson, sponsored by Ouachita Valley Respiratory Care and Beth Smith at Edward Jones. He was the founding father of the Twilight Zone. Rod Serling became known as the angry young man of Hollywood, clashing with TV executives and sponsors over a wide range of issues, including censorship, racism, and war. Rodman Edward Serling was born on Christmas Day 1924 in Syracuse, New York. The second of two sons in a Jewish family, Rod grew up in Binghamton, New York. In elementary school, he was the in-house class clown. From an early age, Serling became interested in writing and radio. He especially loved thrillers, fantasy, and horror shows. As editor of his high school newspaper, Serling encouraged his fellow students to support the war effort. While serving in the Army, he competed as a flyweight and had 17 bouts. After his discharge in 1946, Serling worked at a rehabilitation hospital. In 1948, he married his wife Carol, eventually welcoming 2 children. He continued his passion for radio, working as a writer for Cincinnati's WLW. As TV caught on in the early 50s, Serling made a smooth transition. In 1955, he received attention for an episode he had written for Kraft Television Theater titled Patterns. It wasn't long before he churned out a teleplay for Playhouse 90 called Requiem for a Heavyweight, again receiving praise from critics. By 1958, Serling continued to write teleplays, including one for Westinghouse Desilu Playhouse called The Time Element, which served as a springboard for his next project, one that would take him to even greater heights. When CBS greenlit The Twilight Zone for the fall of 1959, Serling, though the show's creator, wasn't considered for the job of narrator at first. Westbrook Van Voorhees, the so-called voice of doom, known for his catchphrase, "Time marches on," was deemed too pompous. Orson Welles was also considered at one point, but Serling himself got the job. The Twilight Zone was an instant hit, although Serling fought hard to get and maintain creative control. It received countless awards and drew critical acclaim for Serling and his co-workers. During and after the Twilight Zone's run, Serling took on occasional acting roles. Though the show briefly disappeared from CBS's schedule in the fall of 1962, it reemerged in January 1963 in a new hour-long format, but was cut back to a half-hour later in the fall. By 1964, Serling felt burned out, and the Twilight Zone ended after 5 seasons. During the mid-60s, Serling constantly pitched ideas for new shows. He even tried his hand at the Western with The Loner, which bit the dust after 1 season. Serling then focused on writing screenplays. One of them, Planet of the Apes, was a colossal hit. He returned to TV in 1969, first with an unsuccessful attempt to host the original version of the game show Liars Club, then wrote and hosted a made-for-TV movie called Night Gallery, which was successful enough to become a weekly series. After Night Gallery left the air in 1973, Serling made a few radio stops, made the college lecture circuit, and taught classes at Ithaca College. He briefly considered reviving The Twilight Zone, this time with Aaron Spelling as producer. However, this and other plans were never fulfilled. On May 3, 1975, the lifelong smoker suffered a heart attack while mowing the lawn, but was later released from the hospital. A second heart attack forced doctors to require open-heart surgery. 1 month later, a third heart attack during operation cost Serling his life. He was 50 years old. Since Rod Serling's death, The Twilight Zone remains one of the most popular media franchises of all time, having been rerun, recreated, and reimagined. Till next time, I'm Price Robertson. Amazed by today's trivia? Then join me every Monday through Friday morning for Trivia Tracks on Fox Sports Camden 97.1.